Well, no, because that doesn't make any sense. I know. Yeah, I already lost my thought. I know. I completely forgot. I almost knocked over my beer, you guys. And now I got to do the whole thing all over again. Don't you love that sound? Ay, Dios mío, Jeffrey. Oh, that's good stuff. He doesn't care. So this month, you guys, this month went by like it just literally vanished into thin air. In watching one of my booktube buddies videos, Lady Jane Books, she was doing her wrap up for October and I went, oh my God, I completely forgot to even think about doing a wrap up. And we're already at that time. October just whizzed past me, and I think it did for a lot of you too. Thank you, Lady Jane Books, for, reminding me, or not reminding me, to my face, but basically doing your wrap up, and that made me go, oh, I need to do my wrap up. And we did converse about it a little bit, how she forgot too, and it dawned upon her while she was eating her lunch. So I think a lot of us are on the same wavelength. So anyway, what I'm going to do today is my October wrap up and my November TBR together. So I'm going to try to do this the best possible way that I can. It's going to be a challenge, but I like to challenge myself. So we'll see what happens. I'm just going to go through the books that I read this month. I have already reviewed most of them. I have reviewed all of them. So I'm just going to go through the books that I read. I'm going to insert cards where you'll get a full review of these different books, okay? So we're going to do it like that. All right, so the first book that I read is called The House Guest by Mark Edward. It is a good cautionary tale. There's some culty vibes in it. It was a really great book. I gave it 2 thumbs up for sure. Mark Edwards is a great writer. That was probably the 5th or 6th book I read by him, and I absolutely loved it. 2 thumbs up. The next book I read was Confessions on the 745 by Lisa Unger. You guys know how disappointed I was in this book, so I'm really not going to talk about it at all. I got into kind of a rant when I reviewed it. Cards up here, right, with that review. But this one just was a complete and utter time suck. Ugh. Next up was Brightside by Mark Tullius. Mark Tullius is an author that I actually have not met in person, but we have met over podcast. I was on his podcast, yada, yada, yada. He sent me all of his books. So I decided to go ahead and read the first one that he sent me. He told me which order that I should read them in, and this was the first one. It was a great story. It was an amazing concept. I've never read a book quite like this before. He is a very inventive and unique writer where telepaths do exist, and the government deems that these telepaths are unhealthy for the nation. Rounds up all the telepaths and sends them into a community, which is basically a prison, called Brightside. And they are destined to live the rest of their lives out in Brightside. Follow a character named Joe who decides that this is just not cool. I am not going to be committed basically to some sort of institution where I'm never going to have my freedom. This was a great read. So I highly, highly suggest this one. Next one I did was Rosemary's Baby, guys. I went back and revisited this book because I read it actually a couple times in my life, but I had never listened to the narration. So I wanted to go back and listen to it with Mia Farrow narrating the book. And that was such a cool thing to me because Mia Farrow, as most of you know, was Rosemary in the film adaptation by Roman Polanski. And so it was just really interesting to read and listen to this with the voice of Rosemary. Bringing the book to life, adding extra dimension to the book. It was a great experience, and I'm glad that I did it. If you are a fan of Rosemary's Baby, the film, or a fan of the book, I would highly suggest, if you ever get a chance, to pick up the audio book if you can. It's the 5th book was The Vanishing by Wendy Webb. Great book, you guys. This is the kind of book that is a warm bath, cozy, sip a cup of tea by the fire. It was about a woman who kind of loses everything because her husband is an idiot, and she gets an amazing opportunity to become the companion to a horror novelist who sort of dropped off the face of the earth a long time ago. She goes to live with this horror novelist named Amara Sinclair in her beautiful mansion called Havenwood, and some strange things start happening. This is considered Northern Gothic, which is basically anything that takes place along the northern portion of the United States. I never heard of Northern Gothic before, so I thought that that was pretty cool. I've heard of Southern Gothic before, but not Northern Gothic. So it was very interesting, and it was just an enjoyable read. It was an easy read. It was not. It was a light read, but it wasn't a saccharine read. Okay. So you're not gonna, generate any new brain cells by reading this book, but who wants to do that right now anyway? Okay. So great book, Vanishing, Wendy Webb. The next book was In the Clearing by J.P. Pomer. He is an Australian writer. I had listened to a Audible original he did, and it was awesome. This book is loosely based on a cult in Australian history during the late 60s. The 60s, 70s, somewhere along there. Like, it dragged on a little bit too much. I could not invest in Freya, who was the main protagonist. I don't think there was enough character development with Freya to make her somebody that you just sort of, want to see succeed. She's just a very unlikable person. And it just didn't do it for me. So I was raised in a religious cult, as most of you know, because I mention it almost in every video, and that has shaped the way I look at the world and the way that I read and the way I see everything. And so I thought that this was really going to hit a note for me, but it didn't at all. And I was disappointed. However, I will still keep reading J.P. Pomer for sure. So, The Wives by Taryn Fisher. I loved this book. If you are fascinated by polygamy, you might too. This was a great read. It was fast-paced. It was crazy. It was all of those things that you love in guilty pleasure type books. But it wasn't, it wasn't a romance book at all. It was probably an anti-romance book. If you're looking for something just sort of with an angsty woman trying to find out what the deal is with her husband, what the deal is with the other wives, I would definitely check this book out. Yeah, polygamy is just fascinating to me, so I wanted to check this book out. It was great. I loved it. The ending was insane. So then there were a couple of other that I had wanted to read. They were short stories in the Dark Corners collection. First one that I read was Hannah Beast, which I loved. That was in my last video. So you can see it in that. Great story. And then by Jennifer McMahon. So that was my October TBR, a wrap up of my October TBR. Was doable for me, and I had a bonus book that I threw in there, which was Grady Hendrix's the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, which I absolutely adored, you guys, which leads me into my November TBR, which will start with We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. What were you expecting? I've become a little obsessed with him. So I have heard great things about this. Some of you guys have suggested it to me because I did that review on the Southern. I'm just going to say the Southern Guides because it's just way too long of a title. So I did read Horror Store and wanted to get my hands on his other books. So a lot of you suggested this one because you are fellow metalheads like myself, and this book is all about a metal band who may or may have not sold their soul to the devil. So we'll see how this goes. I did already start reading like the first chapter, and I'm loving it so far. So we'll see what happens with this one. We Sold Our Souls by Grady Hendrix. And look at the cover. Look at that. See, there's that dang glare. I apologize for the glare. I'm trying to get that. But that's that iconic lead guitarist. And in this book is a woman. Thank you, Grady Hendrix. Thank you. So that was cool, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of this book. Second book on my TBR, which I picked up from my local library as I did that one, hence the glare. Head Full of Ghosts by Paul Tremblay. I read Cabin at the End of the World by him, and I loved that book. So this book I'm excited to read. It's about a family who experiences some not so great things. Let's see. So really quick, this is about a family called the Barretts. They're from New England, and they're torn apart when their 14-year-old daughter Marjorie begins to display acute signs of schizophrenia. As their home dissolves into a house of horrors, they reluctantly turn to a local Catholic priest for help. So this has some exorcist, I believe, undertones to it. And there's some other things going on here as well. So I'm excited to read this one again. I really enjoyed Paul Tremblay's The Cabin at the End of the World. So I'm hoping that this one will be as good or better, maybe. We'll see. We'll see. The next one I'm going to read, and not in order, you guys. This is what I hope to read. This is my November hope to read. I might not read all of these books, right? Because, me. Is called The Tenant. And The Tenant I just picked up. You guys might have seen this in the book haul that Ryan and I did. I picked this up at the Book Barn. This is the first book in a detective series that takes place in Copenhagen, Denmark. So I was excited to read that. So this book, so I'm not going to read the whole synopsis. It's basically when a young woman is discovered brutally murdered in her own apartment with an intricate pattern of lines carved into her face. Ooh, so there's a little bit of gore to this. I like it. Copenhagen police detectives Jeppe Karnar and Annette Werner are assigned to the crime. In short order, they establish a link between the victim, Julie Stender. Even with my cheaters on, I can't read. It's ridiculous. Julie Stender and her landlady, Esther, who's a bit too fond of drink. I like her already, and who's the host of raucous dinner parties with her artist friends. Esther is also a budding novelist, and when Julie turns up as a murder victim in this still unfinished mystery she's writing, the link between fiction and real life grows both more urgent and more dangerous. So that sounds really great. I didn't even read the whole entire synopsis of this before I bought it, but now that I have, it sounds really fantastic. So we will see how this one goes, and I'm definitely going to read it. Another one is Final Girls by Riley Sager. Riley Sager is one of those authors that is sort of polarizing. I mean, that might be a strong word to use for him, but I have found that most of the reviews that I have watched and read about Riley Sager's books are either like people are freaking out about how awesome the book was, or they are just raking it over the coals. It's like they just hate the books. And I have found that in Riley Sager's writing, I am in both of those camps, because I read Lock Every Door, which I loved, and then I read The Last Time I Lied, which I hated. So yeah, so there's a weird balance there, I guess you could say, where I'm in two camps, where I loved one of his books and I hated another one. So I figured, 3 strikes and you're out, right? No, that doesn't really make sense in this, does it? So I figured I would give him another shot and read Final Girls, because I have heard a lot of great things about this one. Hopefully it is good. Synopsis of the book is about 10 years ago, college student Quincy Carpenter went on vacation with 5 friends and came back alone, the only survivor of a horror movie scale massacre. In an instant, she becomes a member of a club no one wants to belong to, a group of similar survivors known. I'm sorry, I cannot see this at all. This is terrible, because it's in white fine print, and I have these magnifiers on that just are not cutting it at all. She's in this group, she finds herself in this group that the press calls the Final Girls. So that's the premise of the book, is that she was, I guess, had a horrible situation happen, and now she has survived that situation and is in a sort of circle of other people who've been through similar type situations, I guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. And they are called Final Girls. So that seems really interesting to me. And I've heard a lot about it. So I can't wait to read this one. The next one, let's see, Skin Deep. Now, these are all books you probably are looking at and going, oh, that looks familiar. Yeah, I picked these up on my book haul with Ryan at the Book Barn. So Skin Deep is a book by Liz Nugent that I've been wanting to read for a long time because I love her writing so much. And really quick, so this book is about Cordelia Russell, who has been living on the French Riviera for 25 years, passing herself off as an English socialite. But her luck and the kindness of strangers have run out. The arrival of a visitor from her distant past shocks Cordelia. She reacts violently to the intrusion and flees her flat to spend a drunken night at a glittering party. As dawn breaks, she stumbles home through the back streets. Even before she opens her door, she can hear the flies buzzing. She did not expect the corpse inside to start decomposing quite so quickly. Ooh, that sounds really good. She is just this kind of author that is very subtle, but her books are not slow build. I don't find them to be at all because her writing is so beautiful. So this one is definitely a little bit of a departure from the other two, which were thrillers and disturbing, but this one sounds a little bit more creepy. So can't wait to read that one. The next one is Holding by Graham Norton. Yeah, the Graham Norton Show. He wrote a book. He wrote several books apparently, which I did not know about. And a lot of you guys didn't either because you made some comments. I had picked this up on my book haul again with Ryan. And Ryan and I were both like, what the heck? Graham Norton wrote books? We had no idea. So yes, he has written a book and it's an Irish mystery that I cannot wait to read. So this book, The Little Village of Duneen, has always kept its scandals contained. But when a body is found at Burke's farm, the past opens up like a pit. As the guards come looking for answers, gossip and speculation are rife. And Sergeant P.J. Collins knows that somewhere at the heart of his community lies the truth. So, great little Irish murder mystery. I'm thinking that if I love Graham Norton and his show the way that we do, I'm going to love his writing as well. And I've heard really, really good things about it. I have a BookTube buddy who told me that they read this book and loved it. So I trust her very much. Lisa. Last one, Death in the Family by Tessa Wiegert. So this one has actually been, it's funny because I found this at the Book Barn, but it has been on my Hoopla favorites because the audiobook is on there. So this book is about a storm-struck island, a blood-soaked bed, a missing man. Senior investigator Shayna Merchant believes a killer lurks among the island's elite group of guests and that the murder is a family affair. So I'm not going to continue reading the synopsis because it's very long and I won't bore you with that. However, just that alone is quite enticing because apparently it is an isolation trope, which I love. So we have a little island, and I don't know, I want to say it's somewhere in New England. It's the Thousand Islands region in New York. That's where this takes place. So that's kind of cool because you don't read a lot about the Thousand Islands region of New York in books, not that I know of. So yeah, so that's it. So that is it, you guys. That is my October wrap up and my November TBR in one smush. So this is my TBR, and I'm not even gonna put together my my October wrap-up books. No, I'm just not gonna do it. And yeah, so happy Halloween, you guys. Cheers. Obviously, I'm filming this at night, and I'm just gonna go join my husband now, and we're gonna drink some more beer and eat a lot of candy, and hopefully we won't get any neighborhood brats. We don't really have that kind of neighborhood anyway, so nobody comes to our house for Halloween because it's just not that kind of, I don't think, it would be way too creepy. Like little kids would be freaked out, I think, going up and down or this road on Halloween for sure, because that boogeyman's real. All right, you guys have an excellent rest of your day. You're going to see this tomorrow. I hope you all had a great Halloween in this crazy, crazy year of everything. What are you going to do? But what are you going to do, right? We have no control over anything, do we? So have an awesome rest of your Halloween, or have an awesome rest of your day. And gosh, I'm such a lightweight. I've just literally had maybe 2 beers, and I'm just like, mm, crazy times, crazy times. I feel like there's something else. Have an awesome rest of your day, you guys. Thing. I don't have the words right now to just the dork corners. That is that I should do a section. I should do a segment on this channel, the dork corner, because I could just totally sit in a corner and now, because I'm already a dork anyway, so that wouldn't make any sense at all.